There is too much to know and too little time to think about the world in which we live. Time management thus becomes a priority. Although the world ocean covers about 70% of the surface of our planet, but only 5% have been investigated yet. It indicates that there is another world underwater, which holds secrets and myths which have not yet been explored. We believe that we know more about the planet in which we live. These underwater wonders, whether artificial or natural, tend to confuse us and prove that we are not as intelligent as we think. New innovations ranging from the more affordable DNA sequence and satellite data to self-supporting underwater robots are raising the rate of discoveries.
Let's take a look at the most insane underwater discoveries.
Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Number 8. YONAGUNI Monument. For decades, people claimed the most spectacular natural sight you could see near YONAGUNI Island were the fresh sharks that surrounded the beaches in the cold months of winter. All these things changed in 1987, when the local teacher and director of the YONAGUNI Chichikara AQUATIC Association of Tourism discovered something much more fascinating than sharks. The YONAGUNI Monument was not discovered until 1987, and it has become a tourist destination in that short period of time. The YONAGUNI Monument is a rock formation situated on the southernmost portion of the islands of Ryukyu in Japan, on YONAGUNI's coast. It is located about 100 kilometers east of Taiwan. The origin of the site was debated by various experts. Some suggest that it is man-made, and others believe that it is created by natural phenomena. If man-made, how did it end up 5 meters underwater? It's still a mystery of what the Asian Atlantis produced. A sequence of sandstone formations in Okinawa, Japan, is attributed to the natural beauty, and it has so many right angles, terraced walls, pillars, and others. If man-made, how did it end up 5 meters underwater? Most of the formation consists of sandstone and mudstone, and various structures interact with the underlying rock. A gigantic rock almost 500 feet long, 130 foot wide, and 90 feet high is the most significant component of the YONAGUNI Monument. It is said to be identical to the Shuri Castle in Naha, Okinawa's main island, both in appearance and size. The structure looks like terraces, stepped monoliths built for unexplained purposes thousands of years ago. The pyramid's age may be over 10,000 years, according to expert opinions. Number 7. SHICHENG Underwater City, China. There is a hidden treasure beneath the surface in China's Kuwandi River. In the province of Zhejiang, the ancient town of SHICHENG, also known as the City of Lion, has been submerged underwater for 53 years. SHICHENG was formed in a valley surrounding the 5 Lion Mountains around 1300 years ago. In 1959, to create a dam and hydropower plant, the town and valley were intentionally flooded. Interestingly, the town did not erode much, and there were still houses, walls, even wood details. You will never believe that a whole city is beneath the lake bed, covered with more than 1,000 islands. It is difficult to believe, but even after more than 50 years, the wooden beams and stairs of the city remain perfectly intact, almost like time flows more slowly there. The ancient city is currently being filmed by a crew of film. How well preserved SHICHENG is surprising for the archaeologists. There are currently no tourist facilities. However, we hope that this location will be open to everyone in the future. Recently, the SHICHENG ruins have been explored by a diving company based in Shanghai, and there are plans to construct a bridge across the lake that is expected to increase tourism in the city without hitting the ruins. Number 6. The Titanic. On April 15, 1912 at 2:20 a.m., one of the most luxurious and safe ships ever built hit an iceberg and sank off the coast of Newfoundland, taking more than 1,500 lives. The wreck of the ship takes 73 years to be found. On September 1, 1985, the remains of the Titanic were marked by Dr. Robert Ballard and the scientist Jean-Louis Michel. The Titanic could have remained at the ground floor much longer if there hadn't been a top-secret Cold War naval mission started. No one remains oblivious to the horrific past of Titanic. Also now, many myths and hypotheses remain about how everything has ended. In April 1912, Titanic struck an iceberg. That encounter was unfortunately fatal for the ship. During the sinking, Titanic divided into two halves, which are now 600 meters apart under. In 1985, the wreck was finally set by a joint Franco-US expedition, led by IFMR's Jean-Louis Michel and Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution's Robert Ballard. The wreck had been the subject of considerable interest, and several expeditions had been conducted. Controversial recovery operations have rescued thousands of items that have been conserved and presented to the public. Number 5. An aquatic Stonehenge. At the bottom of Lake Michigan is a storage stones formation with more than a passing similarity to Stonehenge in Great Britain. The origins of the monoliths are unclear, but it is believed that they are thousands of years old. This was discovered by Mark Halley, professor of underwater archaeology at Northwestern Michigan University, when he was crossing the lake with his colleague Brian Abbott in 2007. But over the years, the discovery raised more questions than answers. The discovery was revealed few years ago, and surprisingly, the discovery was not popularized. So, who is from Michigan to visit this beautiful spot? Number 4. Apollo 11 engines in the Atlantic Ocean. It was a product of the space competition between the US and the Soviet Union. After successfully moving the ship through the S1C point, the F1 engines were lost on the Atlantic Sea. Spacious enthusiast Jeff Bezos, billionaire businessman, the founder of Amazon.com, revealed that the 5 huge rocket engines used to launch NASA's Apollo 11 project to land the early men on the moon in 1969 would be audaciously recovered. When Bezos announced that the deep-sea engines had been found by his team, he said that he was not sure about the condition. Engines hit the sea at high speed and have been in salt water for over 40 years. On the other hand, they are made of hard material, so we'll see, he wrote in 2012. The engines are part of the spacecraft that first brought the astronauts to the moon. Number 3. The SS Thistlegorm. It was built in 1940 by British Armed Merchant Navy. During its 4th journey to Alexandria, Egypt, it had 3 successful voyages. It has traveled to the United States, Argentina, and Western India. A German bomber aircraft suspected of being a soldier and attacked it, causing the SS Thistlegorm to sink in 1941, with its own tons of bombs and ammunition to explode. After Jacques Cousteau discovered in the 1950s, interest over its wreck had been resumed. He was able to lift some of the load, while most of it is submerged. This is now a leisure diving site where bikes, trucks, and rifles, which were supposed to deliver to Allied forces in Egypt, can now be seen on deck. Number 2. Incredible discovery of boat wreck dated to 3,200 years. Giulio Beotto, marine archaeologist and researcher of the Centre de la Recherche Scientifique, CNRS, in France, announced that she had discovered an unusual boating wreck dated to 1200 BC in Zambrjada Cove in Croatia. The only and rare foundation is a sewn boat of the Bronze Age, a type of wooden boat literally sewn with clothes, roots, or wild branches. The fishers first observed this wreck in 2008, just 600 meters from the beach and 2 meters below the surface, but assumed it was a very recent wreck. The boat was discovered to be very old. Giulio Beotto and 2 of her Croatian colleagues from the Museum of Istrian Archaeology, Ida Konkani and their husband Marko Uhak of the Ministry of Culture, found that boat was from pre-Roman era. In Zambrjadi Cove, the remains of the boat was remarkably well preserved for their age, with still visible stitches in some areas and a mostly undamaged structure. The different wood types used for making it were known as elm, alder, and fir. Number 1. Mysterious statue of Jesus, Malta. Under Sicily, Italy, Malta is located. This statue of Jesus is found by divers near the shipwreck. The ship was known as the Imperial Aegean, which was a ferry from Malta to Gazo. It was a passenger ship. The ship was also named a freight carrier. Just 25 meters below the surface, the statue and the wreck were found there. and also a coral-filled anchor and tunnel. It is considered to be a safe location for divers. It was made of concrete-covered fiberglass by multi-sculptor Alfred Camarelli Cauchy. The committee of the divers, led by Renargio Borg, commissioned Cauchy to do this work to honor Pope John Paul II's 1990s visit to Malta. In 1990, the statue sunk near St. Paul's Islands. After a decade of visualizations in the water, the statue was moved from St. Paul's Bay to Coral Point. The statue is 35 meters away from the MV Imperial Eagle, which is also a dive site and a ferry connecting Malta and Gozo. Let us know in the comments what you think about these discoveries. Have you ever visited any of these or want to visit? Let us know.